In the highest mountains of Iran, winter temperatures can drop to 20 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. The wind doesn't just blow, it howls through valleys with enough force to tear fabric and freeze exposed skin in minutes. And yet, inside that tent, a family is sitting comfortably. A mother, father, children, all warm. They're not huddling in desperation. They're sitting peacefully, perhaps talking quietly or preparing a meal, while outside, the temperature plummets and the wind tries to tear their shelter apart.
How is this possible? How can a family stay warm through the brutal mountain winter without electricity, without central heating, without gas furnaces or modern insulation, without any of the heating technology that modern people consider essential for survival? The nomadic peoples of Iran, the Bakhtiari, Qashqai, and Shahsevan tribes, have lived in these mountains for thousands of years. Twice each year, they migrate. In spring, moving upward to high mountain pastures where grass grows and animals can graze, and in autumn, descending to lower valleys where winters are less deadly.
But they don't leave the mountains entirely. They move to lower elevations, yes, but they remain in regions that are still mountainous and still cold. Winter in their lowland camps still brings snow, still brings freezing temperatures, still tests their ability to survive in an environment most people would find impossible. Staying warm through winter isn't a technical problem for nomads the way it is for modern people trying to decide between gas and electric heating. It's a problem of knowledge. It's about understanding materials. It's about designing spaces wisely. It's about knowing how to gather fuel, how to use fire safely, and how to organize every aspect of life around the central reality. Heat is precious and must be preserved carefully. This is knowledge that's passed from generation to generation. A child growing up in a nomadic family doesn't learn heating from books or textbooks. They learn by living in these mountains, by watching their parents and grandparents, by experiencing the cold, and gradually understanding the 1,000 small techniques that allow survival. The foundation of nomadic life in the mountains is the tent. Not a modern synthetic tent, but something designed through thousands of years of refinement. A tent made from the hair of goats that live in these very mountains. The fabric is woven from the long, coarse hair of mountain goats. This hair has evolved over millennia to protect goats from harsh mountain conditions. When woven into cloth, it retains those protective properties. The tightness of the weave is crucial. Wind cannot easily penetrate it. But the fabric isn't completely sealed. It allows some air movement, which prevents condensation buildup inside the tent. This balance between blocking wind and allowing ventilation took countless generations to refine. The black color isn't accidental. Black absorbs sunlight, converting it into heat. On cold winter days when the sun is shining, the exterior of the tent can be noticeably warmer than the air temperature. This warmth gradually conducts through the fabric into the interior. The shape matters too. The tent is not a simple rectangle. It's somewhat dome-shaped, which is more aerodynamic against wind and allows heat to circulate more effectively inside. Every structural decision has been made through trial and error, through watching what works and what fails. Maintenance is constant. Wind can tear the fabric. Animals can damage it. The slightest hole allows wind to penetrate. A nomadic man or woman knows how to repair these tears quickly, using needle and thread made from plant fibers. These skills are learned in childhood and refined over a lifetime. A properly maintained black goat hair tent, when combined with the techniques we're about to explore, can keep a family alive through winters that would kill someone in an ordinary modern tent. This fabric has been tested by centuries of real survival. It works.
The heart of warmth in a nomadic tent is fire. Not electricity, not gas, not any modern heating technology, but fire, the oldest heat source known to humans. Fuel gathering is a daily responsibility. The family must maintain supplies of firewood sufficient for the entire winter. This means collecting wood throughout the autumn, storing it carefully, and rationing it through the cold months. Wet wood produces more smoke than heat. It's nearly useless for heating. So nomads spend considerable effort ensuring their stored wood stays dry. A covered storage area, elevated off the ground, allows air to circulate while protecting the wood from snow. Fire management requires skill. A fire that burns too hot uses fuel quickly and becomes difficult to manage. A fire that's too small doesn't provide sufficient heat. A nomadic woman knows through experience exactly how much wood to add, how to arrange it, how to keep it burning steadily through the night. The smoke hole at the top of the tent serves multiple purposes. It allows smoke to escape, crucial for health and preventing the tent from filling with smoke. But it also creates a draft that pulls heat from the fire, distributing warm air throughout the tent before it rises and escapes. This natural convection is subtle but important. The fire provides more than heat. It provides light. It's the center of family life. It's where food is cooked and shared. It's where people gather to talk, to teach children, to do handwork in the evening. The fire is the physical and social center of nomadic life. As temperature drops in the evening, more wood is added to maintain warmth. The fire might burn all night, tended periodically to ensure it doesn't die out, but also doesn't burn too hot and waste precious fuel. This balance between comfort and efficiency is something nomads learn from childhood. If the tent is the shelter, then wool is the clothing that allows a person to carry heat with them wherever they go. The nomadic peoples of these mountains have access to abundant wool from their own animals, and they've developed extraordinary skill at transforming this raw material into textiles that save lives. Spinning is meditative work that takes hours and hours. A nomadic woman might spin wool while sitting by the tent, while traveling, while waiting. Any moment when her hands can work, but her body doesn't need to be engaged in other tasks. Over a year, countless hours of spinning create enough yarn for multiple blankets and clothing items. Woven blankets are extraordinarily heavy and warm. The density of wool, with air trapped between the fibers, creates insulation comparable to modern synthetic materials. A single wool blanket might weigh 5 or 6 kilograms, but it can keep a person warm in conditions that would otherwise be deadly. Traditional nomadic clothing uses the principle of layering. Multiple thin layers, each trapping air, together create warmth far superior to a single thick layer. A nomadic person in winter might wear an inner layer of lighter fabric, a wool undershirt, a wool vest, a heavy wool jacket, and an outer wrap, each layer serving a purpose, each layer contributing to overall warmth. Even young children are dressed carefully in layers. They're not restrained or uncomfortable, they're simply protected. A properly dressed child in a warm tent with fire is quite comfortable, even during harsh winter weather. The interior of a nomadic tent is lined with textiles. Wool rugs cover the ground, providing insulation from cold earth and creating a comfortable surface for sitting and sleeping. Blankets hang on interior walls, adding both insulation and visual warmth. These textiles aren't decoration, they're functional heating technology. At night, Multiple family members might sleep together, sharing warmth. The collective body heat of several people under wool blankets is sufficient to stay comfortable, even when external temperatures are far below freezing. This practice, sleeping close together for warmth, is ancient human knowledge, used by peoples around the world in harsh climates.
How you arrange the interior of a tent affects how warm it stays. Every detail has a purpose. The placement of the fire, the arrangement of sleeping areas, the organization of storage. All of this has been refined over countless generations. The fire is positioned toward the center of the tent, where its heat can distribute in all directions. The sleeping areas are arranged near the fire, the most valuable space in the tent during winter. This simple arrangement ensures that where people spend their most vulnerable time, sleeping, they're receiving maximum heat.
The ground itself is insulated. A waterproof barrier prevents cold from the earth below from penetrating into the tent. On top of this barrier, thick wool rugs and blankets are layered. These rugs are not just comfort, they're insulation that prevents heat from being lost to the ground. The entrance is designed to minimize heat loss. Rather than a simple open door, there's usually a covered entranceway, perhaps with double flaps. When someone enters, they open the outer flap, step inside, close it, then open the inner flap. This arrangement minimizes the amount of cold air that enters the tent each time someone goes in or out.
Wind can be devastating. The slightest draft under the tent edge can reduce interior temperature significantly. During harsh winters, nomads deliberately seal the bottom edge of the tent with snow, creating an insulating barrier that blocks wind. This seal is temporary. It's removed when weather improves, but during storms, it's essential. Large interior hangings of wool create subdivisions within the tent. Rather than trying to heat the entire tent's volume, families might create a smaller sleeping compartment that's easier to keep warm. When not needed, these hangings can be moved aside to open up the space. Storage is organized thoughtfully. Food, fuel, textiles, everything must be stored, but not in the warmest areas. The most precious space, the warm area around the fire where people sleep, is reserved for people. Supplies are stored in cooler areas, often toward the tent edges. While individual families stay warm in individual tents through the techniques we've discussed, survival during harsh winters is also a community endeavor. Nomadic camps don't consist of isolated families struggling independently. They're networks of support where people help each other survive.
Fuel gathering is often a communal activity. Rather than individual families scrambling to find enough firewood, the group gathers together, pools resources, and shares the harvest. This means more firewood is gathered. It's gathered more efficiently, and families that are weaker or have fewer able-bodied members still have access to adequate fuel. Elderly family members who might struggle to gather sufficient firewood alone are supported by neighbors. Young people who have strength and mobility naturally take on more of this labor. No one explicitly assigns this. It's simply how community works. Those who can
In the
contribute
Zagros Mountains,
do.
wood is
Those
life.
who need help,
Keeping it
receive
dry is...
When a tent is damaged during harsh weather, repairs are urgent. But one person might not be able to manage a major repair alone, especially if weather is severe and they need to stay close to their fire. Neighbors help. It takes an hour instead of several hours, and the family shelter is restored quickly. During especially harsh periods, families might gather together in a single space, pooling their fires to create a warmer communal area. This is done carefully. Too many people and the space becomes crowded and smoky. But when weather is truly dangerous, the warmth and security of being together outweighs the discomfort of crowding. Food is shared. A family that's gathered more firewood than they need shares with families struggling to find enough. A family with abundant dairy products shares with others. This isn't charity exactly. It's mutual support, understood as essential to community survival.
When someone becomes ill or injured during winter, the community supports them. Neighbors help with daily tasks. Others provide extra food. The burden of survival is shared, so illness doesn't become a death sentence. This support system isn't romantic or sentimental. It's practical. Everyone understands that they too might need help someday. The average modern home uses tremendous energy for heating. In cold climates, heating accounts for a large percentage of household energy use and expense. We consider a heated home a fundamental necessity, not a luxury. But what nomadic families demonstrate is that heat itself isn't the goal. Comfort is the goal. And comfort can be achieved with far less energy than modern people use. A person sitting with family in a warm tent, wrapped in wool near a fire, is genuinely comfortable. They might not have the temperature of a modern home, but they're not cold. They're not suffering. There's something to admire in the nomadic approach. They use only what they need. They value community and mutual support over individual consumption. They've developed sophisticated solutions to real problems without depending on technology that requires ongoing expenditure of resources. There's also something deeply satisfying about this way of living. You understand where your heat comes from wood you gathered, from wool your animals produced, from fire you tend. There's no abstraction. There's no dependence on distant power plants or supply chains. You're directly connected to your own survival. Modern life isolates us. We interact with heating systems indirectly, through thermostats and billing statements. We're not dependent on our neighbors because we're independent consumers with access to commercial heat. But this independence comes at a cost. We've lost the bonds of mutual dependence that held communities together. Nomadic families pass knowledge directly from generation to generation. A child learns heating not from instruction, but from living it, from helping gather fuel, from participating in tent maintenance, from sitting around the fire and understanding through experience how to stay warm. There's something appealing about simplicity. When your possessions fit on pack animals, you don't accumulate things you don't need. You don't spend money on objects meant to impress. You spend your resources on things that matter: warmth, food, shelter, health, community. So how do Iranian nomads keep their tents warm without electricity? They use several generations of wisdom encoded into simple materials and practices. A tent made from goat hair that's been refined over thousands of years. Wool from their animals, processed and woven into blankets and clothing. Fire, the oldest source of heat known to humans, tended carefully and efficiently. They organize their living spaces thoughtfully, placing the fire where it does the most good, arranging sleeping areas in the warmest spots, insulating the ground and walls with textiles. They maintain community support systems where families help each other during harsh weather. They've developed practices refined by countless generations of trial and error. A method to seal the tent against wind, a technique for gathering and storing fuel, knowledge of how to layer clothing effectively, understanding of fire management that provides heat without wasting fuel. Could you spend an entire winter in a tent like this? Could you sleep on the ground, wrapped in wool blankets, eat food prepared over a fire, gather your own firewood, depend on your neighbors for support, and maintain comfort without electricity or modern heating? Most modern people would find it impossibly difficult.
we've become accustomed to comfortable temperatures and independence from our neighbors. We expect heat to be provided reliably, without effort, at the turn of a thermostat.
But the nomads of Iran demonstrate that this is possible. Not only possible, but achievable with materials and knowledge that are accessible. There's something both humbling and inspiring in recognizing that humans have solved the problem of winter warmth without electricity. That we once knew how to live comfortably in harsh conditions using only natural materials and practical knowledge. If this glimpse into nomadic winter survival has interested you or taught you something new, please like this video and subscribe for more documentaries about traditional cultures, ancient wisdom, and the extraordinary resilience of the human spirit. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most elegant. Sometimes the oldest ways are the wisest. The nomads of Iran remind us that humans have always possessed the knowledge and resourcefulness to not merely survive, but to live with dignity and comfort, even in the harshest conditions. That knowledge remains available to us if we choose to understand it.